Hi, I'm Teryn and welcome back to my channel if you've been here before, and if you're new, I make a lot of skincare focused beauty content as well as fashion and general life videos. If that interests you, please make sure to like this video, check out my other videos, and subscribe. In this video, of course, I'm telling you how you can start to save money in your late teens, early 20s, fresh out of college, fresh out of high school, right when you start a new job, just in general. I'm just gonna give you some tips that if I were to go back, I would do this. And actually, I did do a lot of these things, but life happens. So these are just gonna be easy, attainable goals that I think many people can do, because I feel like when it comes to the tips and suggestions and advice on how to save money, it can be very overwhelming and honestly just hard to do when you're just stepping out into the game. Around this time, you might be moving into your own place, your own apartment, and that is expensive. You have to pay for a down payment, utilities, services, furniture, and that is very expensive. So when you're just starting out, it can be very taxing and expensive just to do all this, and you may have moved, and it's just a lot. One thing that I will suggest is if you can get a roommate. I know personally I am not the type to want a roommate at all. I just really love my personal space. I know some people move in with their significant other, and I don't personally recommend that, just in case something happens and you're just miserable and you're living with someone that's making you miserable. That can be very overwhelming. But I would say if you want to, and you have that type of personality where you wouldn't mind living with someone, I would recommend getting a roommate. And that could be like a friend, someone you knew from school. Of course, just set guidelines and ground rules, and that would be a great way for you to save money, because essentially, instead of you getting a 1-bedroom apartment, which around this time is crazy expensive, you can split the cost with someone, and that would save you a lot of money. Because where you really want to save money is on your living expenses, on how much it costs to house you. Another thing is, if you can and if you're able to, I would recommend living with your parents, even if it's just temporarily until you find a job in a different city, or even if the city that you're living in is great. I would say even just for 6 months, a year, 18 months, just use that as a way to stack up in your money. The main thing for me, as someone that currently pays their own rent all by themselves, where you really want to save is on your expenses. So if you can get a roommate, that's great. If you can live with your parents, that's great. I know as a single woman, a lot of us don't have the luxury of just living anywhere and feeling safe and comfortable. We do tend to pay a higher cost to live on the 3rd floor or live in a gated community. That is something that you have to factor in when looking at your housing costs. When it comes to you getting your first job, always calculate what your take home will be. So there is a website, I will put it in the description, but it's a way for you to factor in what state you're living in, what tax withholdings that you have, and basically you put in your gross. So say your gross bi-weekly is $2,000. It will let you see how much money you will actually be taking home after taxes, etc. When I'm making a budget and looking at where I want to live, I always factor in that, because apartments are usually, 30% of your income, and they do it based on your gross. I personally try to align it to what my take home will be. That way I'm not shocked at what my check actually looks like, because yeah, while you can get a lease based on what your gross salary is, your gross salary is not coming home with you. So base it around what you'll be taking home. Also, if you're at this age and you're able to be on your parents' or some guardian's insurance, stay on that. Trust me, because that will start getting taken out of your check as well. Up until you're 26, stay on that. An easy way to save money is just to auto transfer a percentage or an amount of your check on the check date to your savings account automatically, so you won't even see that. Currently, I get paid every Thursday, and I used to get paid bi-weekly on Fridays. I would just set my account to just take a certain amount of money out of my account every pay period. So I wouldn't even notice it at all. So a lot of people might try to say, I'm gonna say 25%. Honestly, you can just start out small. You can save 10%. You can just set aside $25 just to get the hang of it. And honestly, before you know it, you'll see that that is adding up. And as you get better with your money and your finances, you can start to contribute more to that. And you can also decide to invest it into stocks or crypto, Bitcoin, whatever is going on. It is very important for you to build up an emergency savings, especially in your late teens, early 20s, because this is around the time where you might consider job hopping, you might want to move, you might want to travel. So build up that emergency savings, and that is super hard, especially when the range is 3 to 6 months or 6 months to a year of all your expenses. That is very hard to do. So I just say to start small. The small amounts, you'll feel good about it. You won't notice it, hopefully, and it will just make you feel overall better for saving money. And honestly, try hard not to touch it unless you have to. I actually use an app called Digit. So I set goals for myself. One of my goals is Beyonce concert, move to Los Angeles, buy a house. I set a monetary goal, and it just takes money a little bit out of my account every day for those goals. You can pause it, you can withdraw it. It also has like an emergency fund, rainy day fund, all that. I just love the app. It's really nice and cute, and because it's separate from my account and I can't just easily transfer it, it makes it so much easier for me to refrain from trying to transfer money from my savings to my checking because it's in a different app. A good tip is to always keep a certain amount of money in your checking account. So that could be $250, it could be $500, it could be $1,000. I would say that you would want that amount to be the equivalent of one of your paychecks or your total monthly expenses. Or it could just be simply like $1,000. And so once you start getting closer and closer to that amount, you know not to spend anymore because you don't want to go below that. What you want to factor in when it comes to your monthly expenses and how much you're spending. Say the third of the month hits or whenever your rent is due. After you pay your rent, say your goal is to always have $1,000 in your checking. After you pay your rent, your Wi-Fi, your cable, whatever, you want your account at the day to still be at $1,000 or higher. That is a good goal to strive for, and that could be, I want it to be at $250 and higher. I want it to be at $500 and higher. I want it to be at $5,000 and higher. That's just a good goal to have, in my opinion, because it kind of helps you be more responsible when it comes to your spending. Another tip for in your late teens and early 20s is to just set a budget on how much you want to spend on outings and meeting up with friends. Of course, this is the time to have fun. Find some free places to go, some happy hours to attend, but you still want to live your life. I understand that completely, but just set a budget for that for the month. Like, I don't want to spend more than $200 on going out or even less. Like, I don't want to spend this amount of money on eating food and drinks. Enjoy your life, but set limitations. Hit up the happy hours, hit up events where there's complimentary things with your friends. Live your life, but make sure you're not going to be stressed to pay rent the next month. The last tip that I will say, it is always easier to save money when you make more money. As you go through your career, you will get higher paying jobs. And one of my recommendations for that is to leave your company in order to get a higher salary. Learn how to budget on what you currently make. So that way, when you do get that pay increase, you can continue to live on what your budget was, or you can kind of add a percentage of that to your lifestyle. But I would say understand how to live on this budget, so that way when you increase that income, that can either go all to like a savings goal, it could go to an investment, it can go into what I like to call like a that job expense. Once you learn how to manage that, all that money, you can splurge on yourself, but continue to save, because as we see, we don't know what's going on in the world. So it is always important to have some money saved up somewhere. These are just some tips that I wish I could have stuck to in my late teens and early 20s. Saving money can be very hard and difficult, especially given your journey through life. So I just hope these tips will help somebody. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you have any advice for young people out there, leave it in the comments. And as always, please make sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment for more videos. Thank you again.